Working on this planer today. This came from some buddies up the road. Their father used it last maybe 15 to 20 years ago. It did sit outside for quite a while. Some stuff got seized, so I've since freed it up just with oil. It's all Babbitt bearings. It's quite an early machine. I haven't been able to find another one that has the same triple arch style. Kind of a Gothic style, if you will. I'd guess this machine is from the 1870s. Sadly, there's no name anywhere, no markings. There's two screws here that make me imagine that there would have been a plaque. Many of these had a plaque on the guards. It has the up and down feed with this big wheel, but that's the last thing that's seized on this. So there's two worms, and both of them are seized. So I've put some oil, some diesel in either one, just letting it sit. I see that one's starting to drain, this one not quite yet. So the drive pulley that came with this machine was that serpentine belt. No good, it's flat belt here. So I pounded that one off. It must be off of a big truck engine or something. I'm not exactly sure how they ran it with that serpentine belt. Maybe there was a power source, a countershaft on the floor, I don't know. Anyway, that came off. This little wheel is what goes across and feeds the feed. There's a strange idler set up on this side to tension the feed. Most of these had some sort of a pull tensioner that you could shut the feed off while the knives were still running. Not sure about this one. Anyway, that belt would go down, go across, and then go back up to this, which would feed inwards. And this shaft with this pulley is a little bit bent, but it should be all right. So we'll try to run it without tinkering with that yet. So main thing today is to fit this drive pulley, which I found elsewhere, to this shaft. It's a very strange size of shaft, and it has this key. So I took the caliper here, dial caliper, measured all around it. It's all over the place. It's like 1.436 and a strange measurement, kind of all out around, and you can see there's a step. So where the pulley goes, it stepped down to where it goes in the bearing. So maybe that was turned after the fact. Maybe the bearings overheated at one point. The bearings seem to be in reasonable shape, and they all have shims set up in them. So they should be all right. And the knives are reasonable. They'll need to be sharpened, of course. Anyway, I figured might as well just use this little wheel as a reference. So this wheel comes out to about 1.5. It's also not terribly precise, but 1.5. So that's the easy number that we're going to go for. The key is a very weird size. You'd expect maybe it would be a 1/4 inch key or a 1/2 inch key, but it is, yeah, 0.4850. Kind of weird. So I'll figure out how to broach that or slot it of some sort. And this pulley, which is undersized, it's very close, but a little bit undersized, comes to about 1.365. So we have a fair bit to take off. We'll do it on the flat belt lathe inside the shop and see how it goes. I don't have any set plans, so we'll have to do some tinkering and adjusting as we progress. So it's been a little while since I've used this lathe, and I took the belts off so they wouldn't stretch. These are leather belts, just happen to be the right size in this shop, but most other things here are rubberized canvas, so I like to take them off. I'll just put this in and tighten it down for a brief moment, and then we'll indicate it. So belts are on these pulleys, so I go over to the shaft and just roll them on. There we go. the floor has slooped a little bit, so my 4 steps aren't really lined up with those 4 steps, but it doesn't really matter. As long as they track, as long as the belt tracks all right, then we'll be good. So if I make sure that's okay, I'll wipe some of the sand off. Don't want too much sand on my ways. Should have done this before. Oh well. Okay. I'll show you indicating process. So I like to keep it the old-fashioned way. So we have this old surface gauge. And I'll start by just referencing the outside. It should be close to the inside, but it won't be exact. So maybe I'll twist it up on the top here a bit better so you can see it. I'll just kind of find some surface that it's solid on and rotate it until we find a high spot, and I'll push it down a little bit so it rubs. I can hear it. Okay, this is the high side, this is the high side. So all I will do is loosen the opposite one slightly. I'll push it down a bit. Now check again. Now this is high, and just kind of cycle it like that. High. Now, like I said, with the shaft of the planer itself kind of being all out of spec, we're not going for any sort of great accuracy here, but still want to do it reasonably. Okay. Oh, my cat. Oh, my. Here. So I've indicated on the pulley, I indicated off the inside, and then I started from this side and then put the surface gauge through to the far side to make sure I wasn't turning on a taper, and then just for fun put it 2 points on either side of the flat belt area of this pulley, and it was fine. So we're good, everything's running smooth and true. I even put it on the outside and it was pretty reasonable, which is impressive for a non-machined cast surface here. So last thing to do is to shift the little bolt and put the headstock, or I guess the spindle, directly connected to the cone pulley as opposed to back gear reduction. And then I'll switch out this standard Armstrong tool holder that guys are used to. The some guys call it lantern post or rocker post, Armstrong style. There's 2 options now for boring in this case. I will put Mama Cat down and show you we can either use a standard Armstrong bit, and we can put a boring bar in here, or tool holder I suppose this is. So boring bar goes in here, we use this lantern post like normal, but the lantern post and the tool holder are a little bit, this is too small, so I'm not going to use this setup. We'll take this out and we'll use a neat old style of boring bar holder. This thing, it'll slide in here, and it has the option for 3 different sizes of boring bar. I happen to only have the smallest one, so we'll see what we can do. Just have to do it more slowly. And there are 3 sizes, so you can see small, medium, large, and then it's the same, small, medium, large, so that your bar can go right through a hole in the center, if I can find it, there it is, and through to the other size hole on the opposite side so that it's clamped, the boring bar is clamped on either side. So I'll spin this over. The only thing that really you can't set so easily on this is the trueness to center. So it basically has to be the right holder for your machine. You can put shims if it's you know, but I'm going to try with this. Let's see how it goes. So I'll just spin this guy around and kind of get it so that it's square. Doesn't have to be too square because the carriage is always square with feed, but I don't want it rubbing on the wall. So, move it to the outside. Test. Oh yeah, that's nice. Good. So, I'll just use the bed as a reference by eye for fun. Square that. Should be good. Now I'll just make sure that this will clear without hitting anything. Good. We're a little bit close. That'll do. That'll do. Okay, let's fire it up. The last thing I'll mention to set is I'm going to tighten the set screws on the gib inside this compound slide because we won't be using the compound slide. On a newfangled lathe out there, you wouldn't have to bother with this because everything would be new and tight, but this one's a little bit worn, so that will get rid of any play that might occur here causing any vibrations, because this really is a small tool holder and we'll have to take a few passes to get what we need, but that should be all right. So let's try it. Okay, so a bit of change of plans. The old fancy boring bar holder didn't quite have the rigidity I needed, so I went to the small Armstrong boring bar holder. And yes, this file is a shim and it's working all right. So I just reground the tool very slightly, and the angle's a bit funny because of the elevation. I just couldn't find a shim the right way. So that's the nice thing about this stuff, is you can just kind of bungle it together. It's quite solid, the whole thing's quite nice. So I've also stepped the lathe to the second pulley, second speed, so let's see how it cuts now. when you kind of hear it pause there, there's a bit of a hollow on the inside of the casting. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it was for a set screw, but you basically have surface, surface, and then a hollow, so that's why you hear it stop in the middle. Well, that sounded promising. Looks promising too. Might have to up the speed to one more step, which might mean that I have to adjust that clutch. But that was much better than before. Rigidity is good. Tool doesn't look worn. Some might say, why aren't you using oil? Why is it making such a noise? That's because when running high-speed steel and cast iron, you don't put oil, or it'll absorb it and act as a lubricant and then just slip. So we have about 50 thou to go. That's a pretty good cut right there. Probably do that in 2 more and then speed it up for a finishing cut. Let's try for fun and see if the current system can handle the next step up. Trying pretty hard. I need to take an inch out of the belt. It's pretty floppy. Okay. Let's see. I have the 1.5 inch insert and the 3/8 broach. You can see this one's broken, not the end of the world. It just means we need to use more shims. So I'll go ahead and get this pressed through and get a new wider keyway cut in this shaft, cut in the hole, I mean. There's the clock. And yeah, that'll be that. I'll also need to drill a set screw in this because there's no trace of one, which is kind of funny. So we'll line it up with the keyway and drill a set screw, just a standard head that can go in where the pulley is instead of having an exposed square head, just a flat screwdriver type affair. And that'll be good. Then we'll throw it on a planer. So I got to thinking about the broaching. I don't have a broaching press or a hydraulic press, so I figured, well, use the drill press. The rack and driver are about the same size as a small broaching press or arbor press, so might as well just use it. Crank the arm down, and I have to kind of pull the handle in to raise it, and it seems to be doing a fine job. So I'll go ahead and put a few shims through there and see how that works. There's the broach I used. You might be able to just see on the top 3/8 CCHS. It's broken, but it still does the job for, it's only about a 2.5 inch pulley. So these are some of the shims, 3 thin ones and a thicker one. So we did about 3/16. I bet you know what this looks like. A detonated drill bit. I got real lucky with this one. The good old Princess Auto dental pick. For you guys on the state side, that's like Harbor Freight. So it kind of bent to form the shape that I needed. This is how it's supposed to be. But anyway, I guess that was a benefit. So there's the tip. Got really lucky. The whole thing came out. And then I stepped up to, it's about 3/8, so it'll be a 7/16, 14 hole. The same as the other set screw from the little, where is it? Anyway, the little table feed pulley. But they had a Allen key set screw in there and it's really wrecked. So I'll make a couple with standard heads for screwdriver. So here we are with a tapped hole, 7/16, and a couple set screws made from some 7/16 threaded rod. So I'll go ahead and put the shorter one into the feed pulley and the longer one into the drive pulley, and we'll go throw them on. So here it is. Pulley's ready to go. Have the key. Now just tighten both set screws. There we are. So, last thing to do with this planer is the table isn't seized with regards to up and down. The ways are fine, but the screws, there's two worms on either side that go up to raise and lower the table in conjunction with this handle here, and they are seized in place. So like I mentioned before, diesel there, the one's gone through, so this side might be freed up, but this one's going to be needing a little bit more tinkering. So stay tuned and we'll get this thing running and planing. Sharpen the knives. I have a proper planer blade sharpener, and yeah, until then, have a good one.